Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidparam Namah Shri Shankarananda Gurupadam Jannane Savila Samaha Graha Graseka Karmani. Okay, let's read the verses that we covered. We'll read from 36 to 40. Sada Siditi Shabdartha Bhede Vaigunyamapatet Abhede Punaruktisyan Maivam Loke Tathekshanat Kartavyam Kurute Vakyam Brute Dharyasya Dharanam Ityadivasana Vishtam Pratyasit Saditiranam Kala Bhave Puretyuktihi Kala Vasanaya Yutam Shishyam Pratyevate Natra Vitiyam Nahi Shakyate Chodyam Va Pariharo Va Kriyatam Dvaita Bhashaya Advaita Bhashaya Chodyam Nasti Napi Taduttaram Tadastimita Gambhiram Tejonatamastatam Anakyamanabhivyaktam Satkinchit Avashishyate. So what have we seen? So we have seen now that the Satvadis, they are now asking the Vedantin, now you were criticizing our statement, non-existence is, so let's just look at your statement, existence is. Existence is, that implies duality. There's two words. So is existence something else and is something else? Why are there two things here? If there are two things, it's duality. And if you say existence is the same thing, then it's a defect because it's quite repetitive. So then the Advaitin says, no, this is what is seen in the world. It says, loke tathekshanat. We say in the world, what is done, right? Speech is spoken. We have such expressions in the world, and so existence is another form of expression, or rather we say existence was, according to the Chandogya Shruti. And so there's no defect there. And you know, in common parlance, whenever we have a subject, we look for a verb. Whenever we have a verb, we look for a subject. So then the opponent says, or the Purva Pakshin says, but there's still duality because you're saying existence was. So now there's time involved. Existence alone was before creation. So what is this time then? Is there duality? Was it existence and time? So the Vedantin says, no. Time is because of Kala Vasana. It's because the student is used to having time spoken of. When we say existence in the past, we say existence was. If we talk about existence in the future, existence will be. Existence in the present, existence is. the student's mind is very used to thinking in terms of time and space. So all the teaching has to take care of this matter. It has to take place understanding the student's mind. Otherwise, the teacher cannot teach. If we see Dakshinamurti Stotra, Maunam Vyakya, Dakshinamurti spoke silence. He didn't speak. If we see Dakshinamurti Stotram in the beginning, Maunam Vyakya, the speech was Maunam, and all he did was Chin Mudra, right? This is all he did. He didn't say anything because it's so incredibly deep, too incredibly deep to define. So all he did was this. And what it means is this jiva, which is usually identified with the three bodies, the gross body, the subtle body, the causal body, this jiva is actually Brahman. And this is what the teaching is. This jiva, this ego that we always point with, that we always use, is actually Brahman. And therefore, this is the teaching. And we think that in our 5 fingers, it's this index finger that is the most used because we point and we use it to type and things like that. But actually, without the thumb, our fingers cannot grasp anything. So this symbolizes Brahman, because without this, nothing can happen. We cannot grasp, we cannot think anything. So all he did was Chin Mudra, because how to explain this truth? So here it says that Sat is Kala Abhave. It is without time. But because the Shishya has Kala Vasana, that the Vasana of time, therefore we speak such things. But actually, existence is before the before, right? And even if you use the word before, that's already part of creation. Before connotes time, and time is creation. So this is the only way for us to speak. We have such limitations, but there's no duality. It's just existence. And the Advaitin goes on and says that all the objections and all the answers in Vedanta are answered from the standpoint of duality, the teacher and the taught, the speaker and the one who's listening. But in actuality, in Advaita, there are no questions, there are no answers, because there is no one to question. There's nothing to be questioned. So there are no questions and there are no answers. And that's why after comprehending something so incredibly deep, we usually fall silent, isn't it? We don't know what to say anymore. I mean, in some things of the world that we marvel at, we say, oh, we can't even find words for that, right? So what to talk about this existence? Just fall silent. What more can one do? And so he says, after that disillusion, tada stimita gambhira, what remains is this stimita, unmoving, gambhira, ungraspable, so deep. Na tejo na tamastatam, it's beyond light and darkness. Anakhyam anabhivyaktam, anakhyam, it's unnamed, anabhivyaktam, it's unmanifest, and it's just pure existence. Therefore, existence alone was. Only existed, nothing else. And so now this conversation was over. Now the Nayayikas come and they ask, wait, we have a question for you, Advaita. Your statement is incorrect. And so let us read now where the Nayayikas are coming from. Verse number 41. Nanu bhumyadikam ma bhut, nanu bhumyadikam ma bhut, paramanvantanashataha, paramanvantanashataha, katham te viyato sattvam, katham te viyato sattvam, buddhimarohatiti chet. buddhimarohati chet nanu bhumyadikam ma bhut paramanvantanashatah katham te viyato sattvam buddhimarohati chet. So now these Nyayikas are part of, in Hinduism or in the Indian tradition, there are 6 schools, Astika schools of philosophy. Means they take the Veda to be a means of knowledge. And of this, we have the Sankhya and the Sankhya school, Yoga school, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, and Uttara Mimamsa. We have these 6 schools. Now, of these 6, Yoga, Sankhya, Nyaya, and Vaisheshika, these 4 schools are called Tarkikas. And the reason being is that although they use the Vedas, they use the scriptures, they use their reasoning over the scriptures. So it's more like they match the scriptures to their reasoning. Whereas if you look at the schools of Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa is Vedanta, they use their reasoning to match the scriptures. So it's a slightly different way of looking at things. And commonly the Nyayikas and the Vaisheshikas, they have many things in common. So those schools are mostly taken together in some of the texts. So here now the question is, Nanu means questions being raised. Bhumyadikam. Bhumyadikam means these effects of earth. So there are 5 elements, but here we're only mentioning 4. Earth, water, fire, and air. These 4, ma bhut, right? So he says these 4 elements, paramanvantanashatah. When these 4 elements are not there, right, we can understand because we have paramanu antanashatah, means there is a dissolution of them. I'll explain this after I explain this shloka. So then he says, katham te viyataha asatvam. How is it that akasha or space is asatva, is not real? How is it not real? Buddhimarohati chet. How is it that space is not real, in your mind, right? So for us, we think space is real. So let's see here first. These Nayayikas have this belief. Their belief is this, that all these 4 elements, earth, fire, water, and air, these 4 elements, these can be broken down to what we call paramanu. Paramanu means the smallest indivisible particle that is possible is called paramanu. So maybe now it would be quarks, but their definition is paramanu means the smallest indivisible particle. So they believe that how this world comes together is all of these particles from earth, water, fire, and air. They all come together, and that's what makes creation. All of these small particles come together, and that's what makes creation. And then they believe that when all of these particles are separated, when they separate from each other, that is what's called dissolution. So in their minds, they're able to grasp all of these particles coming together and all of these particles separating. This is how creation happens. This is how dissolution happens. It's similar to some of the thought processes that we have today. And so this is how the Nyaya school thinks about it. And they also say that space, it's indivisible. Space is indivisible. So space is not part of this. For them, space is eternal. It's something eternal. It cannot be divided further. So space, actually all of this coming together of earth, fire, water, air, the coming together and splitting of them, all of that happens in space. So space is like the substratum for them. And space is eternal. It's always there. So space for them is eternal. And even these particles called paramanus, they're eternal. And so they say, how is it that space, katham te viyataha asatva, how is it that space is, not permanent or not eternal? Because for us, it is eternal, right? For us, it is eternal. And therefore now, if you say that existence alone is, we think existence is there, but space is also there. Because according to our school, space is eternal. We cannot grasp the dissolution of space. It's not composed of any particles, of any paramanu. So therefore, there is duality. So now the Vedantin says, okay, I understand now your thought flow. Let's look a little bit deeper into this. And so now he says, verse number 42. This is from the Vedantin standpoint. Atyantam nirjagad vyoma, atyantam nirjagad vyoma, yatha te buddhimashritam, yatha te buddhimashritam, tathaiva sanirakasham, tathaiva sanirakasham, kuto nashrayate matim, kuto nashrayate matim. Atyantam nirjagad vyoma, yatha te buddhimashritam, tathaiva sannirakasham, kuto nashrayate matim. So the Vedantin says, yatha, just as for you, O Nayayika, atyantam nirjagad vyoma, your mind, right? Your mind, your buddhi mashrita means your mind, ashritam, can conceive of atyantam, the complete absence of the world from space. Atyantam nirjagad vyoma. So your mind can conceive of the absence of world and just space. Your mind can conceive of that. So in the same way, tatha eva, in the same way, sannirakasham, we can conceive of existence without space. You can conceive of space without the world. We can conceive of existence without space. Kuto na shrayate matim. So why can we not conceive of existence without space? Is there a problem here? So we're asking you to go one level deeper than your thought flow. You think space is eternal, but go one level deeper, because we actually are able to conceive of existence without space. So then the opponent says, no, we just see space. And we believe space is there because we have the existence or the experience of space. We have the experience of space, but we do not have this experience of existence. You keep talking about sat, sat, sat. We don't have this experience of existence. But space we can clearly experience. We have no problems with it. So now the Vedantin has an answer to this. Okay, so let's see. Nirjagad vyoma drishtam chet, nirjagad vyoma drishtam chet, prakashatamasi vina, prakashatamasi vina, quadrishtam kinchate pakshe, quadrishtam kinchate pakshe, na pratyaksham viyat khalu, na pratyaksham viyat khalu. Nirjagad vyoma drishtam chet, prakashatamasi vina, quadrishtam kinchate pakshe, na pratyaksham viyat khalu. The Vedantin is now asking, what is this space that you talk about that you experience? Tell me, what is this space? Because he says here, prakashatamasi vina. That's space without prakasha, without light, and tamas, darkness. that space without light and darkness, that space nirjagad vyoma, without the world, that space that you say, which can be perceived without the world, that pure space, kwadrishtam vada, where have you seen that space? Te pakshe na pratyaksham vyat khalu, in your paksha, in your side, even you say that you can't see space. So what the Vedantin is saying, you are saying space, you can conceive of space, but where, how do you conceive of space? How do you conceive of space? Does space have a quality, or that can we see space? Can we hear space? Can we smell space? Can we touch space? How do we experience space? You're saying we can experience space, but space without the world, but where is that seen? Where is that seen? And if you say, yeah, we see dark space, light space, the Vedantin is saying, show me space without darkness, without light. Show me pure space. And the Vedantin says, even for you, it's not pratyaksha. So the Nyaya school also agrees that space cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, it cannot be smelt, it cannot be tasted, it cannot be touched. The Nyaya school also agrees. So the Vedanta says, even in your school, you say you cannot perceive space. So what space are you talking about? You cannot perceive it. And so here, a slight point is, how do they say space is experienced? So how do the Nyayikas say that space is experienced, and how do Advaitins say that space is experienced? The Nyayikas believe that space is something that can be inferred. So their inference works like this, that every property, every guna has to have a dravya, which means every property has to have a place where it rests, a substratum, a place that it's, that holds it. So for earth, for smell, we have it in earth. Smell has to reside somewhere. So smell resides in earth. Taste has to reside somewhere. So taste resides in water. Form and color have to reside somewhere. So they reside in fire. Touch resides somewhere. It resides in air. Now you have sound. Now where will sound reside? So sound cannot reside in earth. It cannot reside in fire, water, air. It cannot reside in any of these things. So where will sound reside? It must be space. So therefore, by inference, they infer that there is something called space. There's something called space where sound resides, where the property of sound is able to function. They believe that this is how space is known. Now, what does the Vedantin say about this? The Vedantin says that space is not known through our senses. That's for sure, because there is no quality. We may know sound through our ears, but we cannot know space. That's the only element that we're not able to perceive of. So for example, for earth, we can perceive smell and earth also. For water, we can perceive water and also taste. For fire, we can perceive form and color, and we can also perceive fire. For air, we can perceive touch, we can also perceive air. But for space, we can perceive sound, but we cannot perceive space. We cannot perceive space. Pure space we're talking about, pure space, not this space with light and darkness. We cannot perceive it. Nor is it really known through the mind, because the mind operates through the senses. So the mind through the eyes will see, through the ears will hear, through the nose will smell. So it's not known through the mind. So space in Vedanta, according to Advaita Vedantins, it's known through Sakshi Pratyaksha. Sakshi Pratyaksha means it is known directly by the witness consciousness. There are some things which are perceived by our senses, some things which our mind can know through our senses, but there's some things which are directly illumined by consciousness. Like our thoughts are directly illumined by consciousness. That individuality, that ego is directly illumined by consciousness. Similarly, pure space, pure akasha is illumined by consciousness. From our perception, we are able to see space within and without. From our mind, maybe we're able to feel a sense of space. But that pure space actually is, it's almost, it doesn't have anything that we can grasp. And so it is illumined by Sakshi. So the Advaitin here is saying, even you, O Nayayika, your experience of space is just an inference. But we are able to experience space. And not only that, we're able to experience Sat. This is what the Advaitin is trying to get to. Because you're saying, space is something you can conceive of, but Sat you can't. We're telling you that we experience space and we experience Sat, pure existence also. Now, what is the difference between space and pure existence? So one obvious difference is that space is an object of experience, right? It is something that's illumined, while pure conscious is the one that illumines. We also see that space is something that's created. If we go to our Shruti, our Upanishads, very clearly, in Taittiriya Upanishad, it says, Tasmat va etasmat atmanaha akashaha sambhutaha. Tasmat va etasmat atmanaha akasha sambhutaha. What does that mean? Tasmat, from Brahman. Etasmat, from Atman. From Brahman, which is Atman, space was born. Akasha sambhuta. Space was created. So from Brahman, which is Atman, space was created, which means space manifested. So clearly we see in our Upanishads that space is something created. It's a bhuta. It's an element. And therefore, because it's something that's created, it is what we call ashuddha. It is impure. Because it's not there on its own. It's something that's made from somewhere else. Something that's made from somewhere else. It's called ashuddha. And so now the Vedantin says, let me tell you how true our Sat is, how true our existence is. This existence that we talk about is not just a concept, it's an actual reality. And it's an ever-experienced reality. And let me tell you more about it so that you would understand where we're coming from. So now the Advaitin goes to say how this pure existence is experienced. So we'll see verse number 44. Tadvastu shuddhan tvasmabhihi Tadvastu shuddhan tvasmabhihi Nishchittairanubhuyate Nishchittairanubhuyate Tushnim sthitau na shunyatvam Tushnim sthitau na shunyatvam Shunya buddhishcha varjanat Shunya buddhishcha varjanat Tadvastu shuddhan tvasmabhihi Nishchitairanubhuyate Tushnim sthitau na shunyatvam Shunya buddhishcha varjanat. So he says here, tad vastu. Tad vastu, some readings say sad vastu, means that existence, shuddham, that existence which is pure existence. Tu, on the other hand, this pure existence is anubhuyate, is experienced. It is experienced. By who? Asmabihi, by us. It's experienced by us. Who us? Nishchitehi. Nishchitehi literally means without the mind. By those without the mind means by those whose mental cessations have, those mental movements have ceased. Nishchitehi. Where can it be experienced? Tushnim sthitau. Tushnim means the quiet state, in the quiet state. Nashunyatvam. And the experience is not nothing. Shunya buddhishcha varjanat, because one is not conscious of the perception of nothing. So this is always a question that have we ever, or is there ever a time when pure existence is, pure existence alone is? So we experience existence all the time. It's ever experienced. Right now, it's ever experienced because everything exists. We exist. Everything exists. But in this nirvikalpa samadhi, this tushnim sthitau, nirvikalpa samadhi is that state where pure existence alone is. Pure existence alone is. So although in this living state, we do get the sense that we are pure existence. When we listen to Vedanta, when we do a little bit of reflection, we understand that we are pure existence. A deep sense of I am pure existence happens in that state. You see, now we understand, we can fathom that we exist without things. We exist without accessories, right? We exist without accessories and things. We know because sometimes we leave the house, we exist without the house. We exist without relationships. This we know because sometimes we leave people, we're with people, we still exist. No problem there. We also exist without our careers, not our professions, careers. This we know because 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, who knows? And then we're done with that. We exist without our bodies. We know this even in the waking state because when we get so intimately involved with something, we have no notion that we're the body. We have no notion of it. So we exist even without that. And without our minds thinking and thinking and thinking, even that we exist. Again, even in the waking state, I'm not only talking about deep sleep or nirvikalpa samadhi, but when we get into a flow, into a moment, and the thoughts cease, we are there. Our thoughts may cease completely, but we still feel we are there. We still are aware that we are there. So we can exist even if our mind, remember, is a flow of thoughts. So even if the thoughts are not flowing, even without the notion of the body, even without this personality that we've developed, we didn't always have this personality. When we were babies and we were kids, we didn't always have this name, this personality, this figure. We didn't always have that. So if we think about it deeply, we exist and are able to exist without all of these things. We exist without our names, our individuality, our body, our minds, our relationships, our things. We exist without it. And this is such a startling fact because the fact is that I am not what I can be without. If I can be without it, I am not it, right? So I can be without so many things. So that means that's not me. So I am just that pure existence. Now, what happens in the waking state is that I fathom this. I am able to recognize this. But somehow, for some people, it hits them right in the waking state. Huh? So that's enough for them. But for some people, when the mind becomes incredibly quiet as a nirvikalpa samadhi, they're able to just remain as is. That pure existence is experienced as oneself, not as an object, but as oneself. And that is the state, they say, which is tushnim sthitau. Tushnim sthitau. When there are absolutely no movements, nothing. There just is I. There just is that pure existence. That's all there is. That's all there is. Nothing more. And in that state, it is not shunya, it's not nothing, right? Because clearly we are there. We recognize we are there. It's not that nobody's there. We are there. And even if there was nothing, somebody would have to recognize that there's nothing there. So in that state, this sat is experienced as it is, as one's self. And therefore, this is the reality. There can be nothing other than this. Even without space, sat is there. Even without time, sat is there. In that tushnim sthitau, that nirvikalpa samadhi, there is no time, there is no space. So sat alone is. And that's a fact. But then there's another question. No. Sat is not there. There's something wrong with what you're saying. There's something wrong with what you're saying. So what does he say? What does the opponent say? 45. Sadbuddhirapi che nasti. Sadbuddhirapi che nasti. Mastvasya swaprabhatvatah. Mastvasya swaprabhatvatah. Nirmanaskatva sakshitvat sanmatram sugamam nrinam sadbuddhirapi chennasti mastvasya swaprabhatvatah nirmanastva sakshitvat sanmatram sugamam nrinam. So what does the Nayayika say here? He says, no. What you're saying is wrong. What you're saying is wrong because sadbuddhi means the idea of existence. Chen nasti. The idea of existence is not there in nirvikalpa samadhi. The idea of existence is not there in nirvikalpa samadhi. So existence is not there. Ma astu. And so the Vedanta says, let it not be there. Let the idea of existence not be there. Asya swaprabhatvatah, because Brahman is self-revealing. Nirmanaskatva sakshitvat means because Brahman is that witness of that tranquil mind. Sakshitvat, because it is that witness of that nirmanaska, means that tranquil mind. Sanmatram sugamam nrinam. Therefore, it can be easily perceived by people as the witness of that mind without any thoughts, without any movements. So what is the Nayayika saying here? The Nayayika saying, in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there is no thought of existence. So therefore, existence is not there. There's no thought of existence, so existence is not there. So nothing is there in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Because for us to experience anything, we need a thought of it. We need a pot thought to experience the pot. We need a cloth thought to experience cloth. We need a computer thought to experience computer. So here in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, there's no thought of Sat. There's no thought of existence. So therefore, it's not experienced. I caught you. And the Vedantin says, so let there be no thought of existence. Because existence, what we're talking about here, is not a thought. We're not talking about existence as a thought. And existence can never be experienced as a thought. Because existence is experienced as I. It's directly revealed as I. It's directly revealed as I. And that I is swaprabhatvataha. That I is awareness. Existence is awareness. Existence is not a thought. Existence is not an experience of a thought, but existence is experiencing itself as awareness. Huh? What does this mean? This means that when we say that we are able to exist without everything, we're able to exist without things and relationships and thoughts in the mind and our individualities and our personalities, existence alone is. Now, what is that existence that's left? It is awareness. Existence is actually I am. That existence comes to I am. It's the exact same thing. That existence is self-revealing. When I say I exist without anything or everything, that existence is awareness. If existence was different from consciousness, what happens? Then existence would be unconscious, right? Existence would be an object of experience. And if existence was an object of experience, then existence would be impermanent. Because anything that's an object of our experience is impermanent. It comes and it goes. But that's not our direct experience. So existence is consciousness, and consciousness is existence. Because if consciousness was not existence, it would be not existent. But clearly, our direct experience as ourselves is that we are ever there and we are ever aware. That Sat is Chit and that Chit is Sat. So he says, Asya, this existence is swaprabhatvataha. This existence is self-revealing. And this existence that is self-revealing, where can it be easily perceived? It says, sanmatram, this pure existence, sugamam drinam, it can be easily perceived, it can be easily experienced when the mind is tranquil. When the mind is tranquil. It is like water in the ocean. Water is always there, as it's water. But in our waking state, it's like so many waves are there. So many waves are there. And water said, all waves are water, no doubt. But to kind of recognize water becomes a little bit tough because so many waves keep coming. Different waves from different places keep coming. And so, although it's water, so many waves are there. But in this deep state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, what happens is, it's like this ocean without any waves. So the water is clearly recognized. It's clearly recognized more than ever before. It can be recognized also when there's a lot of waves, but it's easily recognized when the waves die down. And that is called sanmatra. When the waves all die, they die down. That awareness and that consciousness remains as is. And therefore, O Nayayika, I am telling you that existence alone was. there's nothing else. Now, the Nyayika will say, well, what about this Maya? So that we will see next week. So next week, what will unfold is this whole topic of now, what is Maya in relation to pure existence? Or does it have a relation? So that we will see next week. So we'll say the closing prayer, and then if anyone has questions or comments, you can share. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Okay, stop here.